Good evening. Better?
Better.
I'm Patty Lackman, and I am Voter Service Chair of the League of Women Voters of Central Kane County. We are happy to host tonight's forum with 5 of the 7 persons running for candidate for Batavia School Board. There are 7 candidates vying for 4 vacancies. Tonight we have 5 people who are available and have agreed to come and spend the evening with you. Michael Papka and Garrick Grisafi were unable to attend because of prior work commitments. Tina Blakely, Jonathan Gaspar, Jim Carner, Susan Locke, and Jason Stoops are present here to answer your questions. The candidates have agreed to abide by the League of Women Voters rules, which means that they will, they and their organizations and staff, I'm sure you all have staff, will not use the forum, portions of the forum, or any audio clips, video clips, or transcripts in any campaign advertisements or materials, or for any other partisan political purposes. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan and never endorses a candidate. The candidates have drawn lots to determine who will go first with their opening statement. Then we will do kind of a round robin. So Mr. Carner drew number 1, so he will do the opening statement first, and we'll go around the table and end with Mr. Gaspar. Then question 1 will go to Ms. Locke, and we will go around the table again, giving each person an opportunity to answer each question first and last. Tonight's forum is being taped by Batavia Access Television. Our good friend John is in the back, and it will be shared with local cable stations in the area. The League is not responsible for the accuracy of any statements made by any of the candidates. Our goal is to provide citizens with the opportunity to obtain information they need to evaluate the candidates, where they stand, and how they will vote in the future. The audience will have an opportunity to submit written candidate questions to the candidates. The question must be addressed to all candidates. There will not be a question allowed geared at one particular candidate. The ladies walking around the room, I have Jean Pierce and Susan Russo that will be walking around handing out index cards and pens for you to write your questions on. Then they will be reviewed by Barbara King and Martha Ryan for appropriateness, clarity, and to make sure we don't have too many duplicate questions. Our timer tonight is Marianne Noss from the League of Women Voters. And Marianne, hold up one of your paddles. Everything will be timed, and she will give the candidates a 30-second warning and then the stop sign. I will stop candidates in the middle of their statements if they go over a minute. At the conclusion of the question portion, each candidate will then be given an opportunity to make a closing statement. They will have 1 minute to do that. I would ask you to abide by the following rules. Please silence all cell phones and pagers. Please remain silent and seated during the forum. Please refrain from responding in any audible way to the candidates. And please raise your hand if you wish to receive a blank index card or have a question collected. Be aware that there will most likely not be enough time to present all questions, and if there are duplication in questions, we try to kind of combine them and make them into one question. I will enforce the rules of the forum, which may include, as I said, interrupting candidates who go over the time limits. Please withhold your applause until the panel has concluded its participation and the candidates have made their closing statement. With no further ado, I would ask Mr. Carner to make his opening statement, please.
Okay, thank you.
And they're sharing a microphone, so bear with us.
First of all, excuse me. Thank you for allowing me to come in here and introduce myself to you today. As I said, my name is Jim Carner. I've lived in Batavia here for the past 8 years, and I'm currently married, and I have 4 beautiful children. I've decided to run for a school district because I think that we have a need for somebody with a financially conservative voice in this district. Going forward, I think it's going to be very important that we maintain some sort of fiscal discipline. I think that we have many challenges in front of us, so I think that's very important. I strongly believe that also we cannot continue to raise taxes on people in Batavia. We've already tried to raise taxes here on several occasions, but in the process, we've also had to cut some key programs that are important to our students. Some of these cuts have eliminated full-day kindergarten and Spanish from our grade schools. And I think we need to concentrate on getting back to reducing class sizes for our students and our teachers. I think it's going to be very important going forward that we get the best value out of the dollars that we're spending in the budget. So I strongly urge that when I have a chance to look at the budget that we closely review it so we can see what's in it and what we're paying our money on. I also think that we need to also look at where exactly we're spending our money in the budget. Are we paying for things that are positively affecting kids in our classrooms? Being a father of 4 grade school children, I think I have a vested interest in doing a good job. Thank you.
Ms. Locke.
Good evening. My name is Sue Locke, and I've been a resident of Batavia for almost 5 years now. I'm married and I have 2 wonderful children. They attend Alice Gustafson. My oldest will be attending Rotolo in the fall. And I became interested in running for school board about 3 years ago when my oldest child was entering into 3rd grade, and we had a issue with class size. And a group of us parents went before the board and presented our situation, spoke to the board, and saw how the board responded, and worked together with the teachers and the board to resolve this issue. And that's how my interest became piqued, I would say. And from then on, I always thought someday I might like to run for school board. And when 4 positions opened up, my husband and I started talking about it. We decided, I think someday is now. Why would we wait far off into the future? Why not get involved now when my kids are in school and I can have the influence and make a difference in their education now? I've noticed the changes that have been made in the budget have affected the classes that my kids are in now. Class size has definitely become an issue, and that's something that I think needs to be looked at. So I'm just a mom. I'm the PTO president at Alice Gustafson. I'm in the schools all the time, and I'd like to make a difference. So I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops.
Good evening. My name is Jason Stoops. I am running for the school board and support member. My educational background consists of a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Iowa in 1997 with an emphasis in political science as well. I have been a partner with and run a full-service staffing firm in Glen Ellen for the last 14 years. We do talent identification and management for the manufacturing field throughout the Chicago area. I've also been a majority partner in running a real estate investment firm as well. I believe my experience and background with fiscal responsibility would lend well for me to become elected onto this board. I feel strongly about 3 top priorities, which is fiscal responsibility. I think we definitely need to appropriate our tax dollars to be spent well for the common benefit of all of our students. Secondly, I do support the Common Core standards that are being implemented in Illinois and already been rolled out in some states nationwide. It gives an evenly distributed level of education and development requirements to students. And finally, I do strongly believe that having evenly distributed resources and funds available to all schools is something that we should definitely focus within. I'm married. I've been married for the last 13 years. My lovely wife, Amy. We have 3 daughters. One will be entering JB Nelson School next year. I have a 4th grader in JB Nelson, and my oldest daughter is at Bertola Middle School. So I have a vested interest in the education and development of the children here in Batavia, but I also feel a strong, thank you, a strong passion towards being fiscally responsible to the citizens of Batavia as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely.
Hello, my name is Tina Blakely, and I'm running for re-election. I'm running for re-election to the Batavia School Board. I live in Batavia, and I've lived in Batavia for 10 years with my husband, John, and my 3 children. Currently, I work as a certified social worker, specializing in the school districts in Kane and Kendall County, and I also have a background in education. I have volunteered in the Batavia Public Schools for almost 10 years, and I'm currently the chair of the Batavia Inter-School Council. Could you pull it closer? Okay, sorry. Upon the resignation of school board member Jane Resnick, I applied for the open position on the board. I was fortunate enough to be chosen from a field of 9 candidates. One of the most important jobs of a school board member is to be ready, willing, and able to make decisions. Since I have been on the board, I have had the privilege of being a part of this important process. Some of the decisions that I have made have been hiring a new superintendent, balancing a budget, and committing to lowering class sizes. Well, with the changes and the decisions that are going to be made in this district and that the district have to face in the near future, my experiences as a board member are valuable. I am committed to this district, the taxpayers, the students, the teachers, and I'm very committed to the vision of always learning, always growing. I would value your support on April 9th to re-elect me to the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaspar.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum and for everyone that came out and for those of you listening on the TV and internet. My name is Jonathan Gaspar. I go by John, for those that know me. I have a wife, Jenny, who's a school teacher up in St. Charles, and I have a daughter who is a junior at Batavia High School. We've been here in Batavia for approximately 15 years, and we moved here for the school and for the education. My wife and I are both educators, as I had just stated. My wife has been there 28, 29 years, and I am down in Aurora at Waldo Middle School, and I've been there for 33 years, and I will be retiring at the end of this school year. And with that in mind, I thought I wanted to stay involved in education in some form. And so being involved with that and some of the decision makings on some past councils here, I had decided with the help of friends and family to run for the school board. I wanted to give back to the community the best way I could, and that would be through the education process. I hope my knowledge as a teacher and not as an administrator might give the perspective of what is needed in the classroom, because I think that is the #1 goal. What are we doing for the teachers, for the students, for their success? I believe that the school board members need to be fiscally responsible, just like we are in our own homes, for the citizens of the district, for the taxpayers' money that they are giving us. I believe in a strong curriculum. I agree with the Common Core standards, and I wish the Common Core standards would be in all avenues of all the fields, because right now it's in the math and the language arts. I believe encore classes and fine arts classes are a must, because that helps students with their academic process, and it helps them with their applied learning. That in itself gives them a better opportunity later on in life. Not all students will do well just with the academics. They'll do good with their hands and everything else, and good critical thinking. So I thank you.
Thank you. And now we will start with the questions. We will start with Ms. Locke, and you have 1 minute to respond. And as I said, we'll do the round robin. Question is, what have you done to prepare yourself for membership on the school board, and how many school board meetings have you attended?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What have you done to prepare yourself for membership on the school board, and how many school board meetings have you attended?
I'm not sure I can answer how many school board meetings I've attended, because I've attended many throughout the years, so off and on throughout the years. I've been a resident here for almost 5 years, so 3, 4, 15, 20 maybe. I don't know, they don't take attendance. So to prepare for being on the school board, I've interviewed, I've read notes, I've attended the school board meetings. I think that's key, important. I've also been involved in my children's education in the schools. I've been on committees. As I said, I'm currently serving as PTO president. I've served several years as the Ways and Means chair of our school PTO. But to prepare, I'm not sure if you can prepare, but reading.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops.
I believe over the last 2 years, I've probably attended about 10 to 12 school board meetings, and I regularly attend now that I've chosen to try to run for a school board position. I believe the ways that I've prepared myself in order to be ready to be elected to this position is talking with teachers and educators and seeing their opinions on certain things going on in the educational system. I'm also very involved with our PTO at JB Nelson School. My wife, being an educator, definitely shares her opinions with me on how certain things should be run, and I listen to that as well as all other opinions for citizens and educators through Batavia. I've also done a lot of reading and research online, whether it has to do with the pension program, Common Core state standards, budgeting and experience, and I have extensive budgeting experience in running the 2 businesses that I have as well. So I think that's prepared me very well to be elected onto this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely. It's kind of a pain to have to share the microphone. Here.
Well, I am, sorry. Currently, I am a member of the school board, so I attend every meeting. And prior to being elected to the school board, I attended meetings when I wanted to hear what was going on in the community and to find out what was going on in the community, whether it was rebounding or budget issues or hiring issues. So I found out information that way. I also, if I have a question about something, I know I can always talk to administration, or any of the board members that have been on the board or were on the board are always willing and able to answer questions. So I would go directly to those board members. So I don't know if that answers your questions, but I am a current member, so I'm there all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Gaspar.
For preparing, basically, just the knowledge of being an educator and knowing what goes behind. I also read the board minutes, and I've done that in the past for Batavia High School and for the middle school and the grade school when my daughter was going through to see what was going on, just to try to see what's going on with the curriculum and all the other avenues out there. With regards to attending, it's been kind of off and on at times. When I was on the Batavia Facilities Commission back in about 7, 8 years ago with the field house and that, I attended some because I was part of that committee and a chairperson with that. And then I've probably been attending them since either November or December on a regular basis, and attending them since I decided to run for school board.
Thank you. Mr. Carner.
Yes, as far as attending the school board meetings, I've been doing that on and off for the past several years. I don't make it to all of them because sometimes with work kids it can be difficult to do that, but I've spent a lot of time actually talking to teachers that I know. I've worked side by side with teachers because I have, as I said, kids in grade school, so I volunteered my time usually once per week for each one of my children's and working with teachers. I've also done my research by looking online and reading books and just trying to figure out what the best issues are that are confronting our particular district. So that's how I prepare.
Thank you. Okay, starting with Mr. Stoops. In light of the number of minutes required for reading and math, how do you plan to continue to enrich the students' education through music, visual arts, and theater arts?
I do feel it's important to have a well-rounded education, and that does include the arts, as well as, I believe, physical education and extracurricular activities. Those opportunities should be available to all students, and it should be, as well as the parents' duties, the students' duties, to strive to want to be able to accomplish those things. Personally, I think that reading and math is a skill that especially our grade school children should always be endeavoring to improve upon. So being able to make the time and the commitment in order to have our children have a well-rounded education is something key for us to focus with them.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely.
Can you repeat the question, please?
In light of the number of minutes required for reading and math, how would you plan to continue to enrich the students' education through music, visual arts, and theater arts?
I think the arts are very important in school. I think continuing to have them in school and offer them to all the children is very important. I think that as administration and faculty continue to monitor the programs and they can see based on the needs of the students and the time that can be given to these programs, I think it would be encouraged to continue them in the school and encourage our students to be a part of that. So I think it's very important to continue them in our school, and I would understand that.
Thank you. Mr. Gaspar.
I would say the same, because as an industrial arts teacher, I'm in the fine arts area. I think that is a common core item, that the reading and math can be applied to all fine arts areas. And I think even though if you have limited time, when you have the students doing artwork, music, band, or anything of a shop class, they are using the applied system in their learning. And so I would encourage any extra minutes, if possible, to go into the fine arts. I would never want to get the fine arts to be lower than what they are at this time. So I would always be in favor of keeping the fine arts and even improving the minutes if possible on there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe that the fine arts are very important for a well-rounded individual growing up. Reading, math, and the language arts are, of course, something that we all concentrate on, but I think that this gives children another outlet to express themselves. And I think that's going to be beneficial for them when they're doing their other work in other subjects. So I think it should be encouraged and it should be kept, of course.
Thank you. Ms. Lack.
I think Batavia is very fortunate to have a wonderful arts and music program in both the elementary and the high school level. And it needs to be kept up, and I think one way to do that is through the use of technology, introducing that into the program. And I think we can do that with introducing technology into this. It's being done in the elementary level now, and seeing that go on into middle school and into the high school, I think would be a way to help the students achieve a greater level of ability. I think that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's got to come back down this way. Starting with Ms. Blakely. Would you support a blend of computer-based instruction with traditional teacher-student teaching methods to improve the quality of education? I'll say it again if you want me. Would you support a blend of computer-based instruction with traditional teacher-student teaching methods to improve the quality of education?
That's a very good question. Educational options need to be available to all students. And if a certain amount of students would benefit from a type of virtual learning, then I can understand that. But I think that we would have to be able to have the research and the information and the data to prove that this would be an effective program to bring into our schools.
Thank you. Mr. Gaspar.
If I understand the question, if the question is derived to the virtual class session that just happened a few weeks ago at the board, the virtual class that's coming in. I'm not in favor of that. If it's a virtual class in regards to the computers in the system, if a student's sick at home or something that needs to stay up on it, then they're within their class, it's fine. But the way the charter virtual class, if I'm understanding the question, I would not be in favor of that, because I think you need the hands-on, you need the active participation with the teacher and the other students involved in there. And I think you see it firsthand with the students knowing what they're picking up and what they're not picking up. I'm kind of leery on anything that you can't see and to try to figure out who's really behind that area, because we don't know who's on the other side of that screen over there. So I would be against something like that if the question is how I understand it. Thank you.
Mr. Carner.
I hate to have you repeat that question, but may I hear it one more time, please?
Would you support a blend of computer-based instruction with traditional teacher-student teaching, teacher/student teaching methods to improve the quality of education?
You know, I think I would support a program like that. I think that these kids can gain so much by using technology today. I do have an oldest son who is currently in a gifted private school, and in the 3rd grade level, they actively get these kids to use computers, understand computers, and you'd be surprised at how good they can do it. And I think it's just something that really adds to their whole well-roundedness of their education. So a combination of the two I think is very good. But I would also ask, you know, at what cost would this be to the district if we start doing this on a larger basis?
Thank you. Ms. Lack?
We're going to let the virtual school thing go for a minute, and I'm going to go with that it was a blend of using technology in the classroom with traditional teachers. And just say that I am in favor of using technology, computers in the classroom with the students, with a teacher. I've seen it firsthand with my son at AGS. He's in 5th grade right now in a pilot program where they use iPads all day long. Each student has their own iPad in the class, and they've been highly successful in using that program. And when you integrate it with the student and the teacher together, using traditional methods with the new technology, it can be highly successful. But I agree with Jim that you do need to look at the cost. This was a pilot program. There was no cost to the district. So if you can get something like that, that's highly effective. So it has worked.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops.
Well, from my understanding, I believe that we already do have a blend of technology and educational resources that are going on right now with some of the rollout programs from the middle school and AGS with the iPad program, as well as the teachers having whiteboards in their classrooms which can be connected to their laptops to show curriculum and videos and instructional texts. I believe that this is something that us as a society has to embrace. Technology is not going to go away. So this is something that ideally has to be blended with our education so our children can utilize the resources that they already have. I mean, who doesn't have iPads, computers, iPhones, all types of technology nowadays? So it's only smart in order to try to meld that into our curriculum and our programs for our students' benefits while staying fiscally responsible in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Now back to Mr. Gaspar. He'll be first on this question. You guys are troopers. Thank you. Is there any concern that the Common Core standards imposed at the national level, will infringe upon the ability of the community and of the teachers to educate students as they see best, meeting the needs of Batavia's students as individuals, not a one-size-fits-all approach?
I'm just taking it all in.
Yeah, it's a long question. Common Core standards.
No, I understand the Common Core standards, and I'm in favor of them. I think we all have to be on the same page, the same level playing field. I think though what has to happen is within that, each district, you can have your own curriculum to go with each field that lines up with the curriculum with the Common Core standards, that you can enhance it to fit your needs. I'm not one size fits all. So I think there's still some flexibility within the boundaries of the curriculums for each school district to come up with each area to make it so that the Common Core standards, the students are all on the same track, and that they will be on a level playing field with everybody else.
Thank you. Mr. Carter.
Admittedly, the Common Core standards, I'm not completely familiar with everything in there. What I do know about it is that there is sort of a one size fits all students. I guess I get concerned from the standpoint that if we're trying to institute something that's going to be broad-based, that's going to be the same standards for every student, every teacher. I want to know that our teachers have some flexibility to go ahead and teach beyond what these standards are asking them to do. As I said, I don't think a one size fits all kids, and we need to have some flexibility in it.
Thank you. Ms. Locke?
I think the Common Core standards, they've been adopted, and it's something that we have to adjust to, and it's a starting point. It's not something that you have to stay with, and they do allow for some flexibility, that this is what you need to stick with, but you can adapt it to fit our needs in Batavia, and the teachers are given some leeway, that this is what you need to work with, but within this framework, you're allowed to teach around it and to meet these goals, but you can certainly exceed your goals. And at the end of the day, you will have allowed your students to compete on a global playing field where all students are competing. The students here in Batavia are the same, meeting the same goals and standards as students in Iowa, in New York, California, wherever they are. And they'll be able to compete globally even. So I think it's a good thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops.
From what I've understood about the Common Core state standards being implemented is there is some leeway for districts to adjust curriculum to fit their students' needs. Of course, it's a great endeavor to try to have every student strive for a path towards college, but we do need to cater our programs in order to serve children that may want to go on to an alternative path, whether it be an entrepreneurial endeavor without including college, or maybe they're just not able to afford college. I do believe that it is a great program that's put into place, but it's not a rigid framework that has to be dropped in and adhered to entirely. So with this program being implemented, I think it's imperative for educators, administrators, as well as parents and students to be involved in the molding of this program to best suit our needs.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely.
Thank you. Patty, could you read that question again, please? Sorry.
Is there any concern that the Common Core standards imposed at the national level will infringe upon the ability of the community and the teachers to educate students as they see best, meeting the needs of Batavia students as individuals, not a one-size-fits-all program?
I believe in maintaining quality education. And in Batavia, we employ excellent teachers, and administrative and the school board is supportive of those teachers, and we will give them all that they need, or try to give them all they need to continue maintaining that quality of education. So the staff has the support to meet the Common Core standards for all of our students. Because the vision here is to continue where the district needs to go, and continue where to keep the vision, to keep the district where it's at and continue where it's going. So I do think that we can work with Common Core standards, and we have an excellent staff and administration that can help make that happen for our students.
Thank you. Now to Mr. Carter. We'll start with this question. Larger class sizes may have become necessary because of economic concerns of the last few years. What answer do you have for taxpayers who may not believe in hiring new teachers, believe hiring new teachers is necessary to make them smaller, classrooms smaller? How are you going to answer the taxpayers when we need to hire more teachers?
Again, I think that's a very good question. I think it's a big issue that we have what I believe is classes that are at too high of a level. I think that it does affect the ability of these teachers to cater to each kid individually. I think smaller class sizes make that a more easier job for them to do. As far as hiring new teachers, we're talking about the additional cost involved in hiring these teachers. So I think it just goes back to, again, having fiscal responsibility. I believe that there's probably a lot of areas in the budget and what we're spending money on that perhaps could be eliminated. If we can eliminate some of these things, we might be able to free up some money to hire some more educators for our students and hopefully lower class sizes. So again, I think it comes out to be fiscally conservative.
Thank you. Ms. Locke?
Thank you. I think if you asked just about anyone out there, they would agree that classroom size is a major issue. I was shocked when I found out how big some of the classes out there were. 29 students in a class is not unusual, and I just didn't realize it until I started talking to some teachers, and even in the elementary level, they're getting extremely large. Something does need to be done about it. I'm not sure that we can afford to hire more teachers at this point because we want to keep a balanced budget. There are ways to go about doing something about it called flexible grouping. That's one way that's being done right now even in the schools. It's a way of redistributing students within the same grades without getting too technical, but it's being done right now and it does work effectively. So there are some ways you can do it without raising taxes. So.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops.
Well, I think initially that attention to the students' needs and what their needs are to learn and grow would need to be focused on initially. There does need to be some alleviation of certain class sizes, I think especially relating to the K through 5. I believe some of those class sizes are a little too large in order to allow a teacher to adequately educate all the students at the same level without having to sacrifice just purely based on time to give some personal attention to some of the students. I believe when the budget does allow, and from what I understand has allowed to add new instructors, that they should be appropriated in the right areas, because I think there is a certain stasis of certain classes that may allow for a larger class size where the education ability wouldn't drop. So that just is something that needs to be evaluated and really looked into before we just start adding teachers willy-nilly.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely?
In the upcoming school year, we currently will be adding 8 to 10 new staff members to keep the sizes at the best level for educational professionals. The school board that is currently in place right now has done this with a balanced budget, without cutting programs, and without increasing taxes. So we did hear what the community said. We heard that we need to lower the class sizes. We listened, and we were able to do that and still balance our budget. So I think that you will see an improvement in that, so that the teachers and our professionals can continue doing their best for our students.
Thank you. Mr. Gaspar?
I think with the class sizes, you have to look at where all the money is being spent at from the taxpayers. So if there is an amount that's coming in and there is just shoot out a couple $100,000, instead of maybe just going out and maybe hiring an administrator of some sort, and there's class sizes that are a little bit higher, that's what we have to look at. We have to see where we can take the money and use it in the best fit. Class sizes, especially in the lower levels, can be a benefit to the students and for the teachers. But without knowing exactly dollars and cents on everything that's going on in the district, you have to, whenever there is any money coming in, or even if there's some flexibility now to change things around, you have to make sure that the students are here first, and we do not want to keep adding more money to the taxpayers. But if the money's there and we can do it, then we can adjust it a little bit to help bring the field to a level playing field and help the kids.
Thank you. Now to Ms. Locke for this question. On a little different note, before we get into more money issues, what are your beliefs on teaching and using cursive writing? Many young people cannot write or read it. How will they compare to foreign countries by not being able to read or write cursive? Ms. Locke. I concur. I teach junior college. Kids cannot write worth a darn. So, information. What are your beliefs on teaching and using cursive writing? Many young people cannot write or read it. How will they compare to foreign countries if they can't read or write cursive?
Well, I'm not sure how this relates to a foreign country, but I think they should learn to write cursive. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I think there's certain things that you should just learn to do. And I'm kind of, in fact, wow, this is kind of weird, but I just was on my son's case this afternoon about his writing, and there's certain things you just need to learn to do. And handwriting, they don't even think they need to worry about their handwriting as it is right now, because they type everything, they tell me. And same thing as manners. There's certain things I think you just need to learn to do to compete in today's society. Handwriting, your basic, if you're not going to learn to write cursive, why would you need to learn to add and subtract? You have a calculator. There's just certain things that are basic and that you would need to learn to do. And I would believe cursive handwriting would be one of them.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops.
I may come from a different school of this, because if you asked me to write all the letters in cursive right now, I probably couldn't, and my printed word is not that legible as well, except to me. I believe in teaching cursive, I do believe it is important to do in K through 5 levels. Have your students in understanding the eloquency of writing. However, I'm a stronger believer in the content versus the script. With so much communication going on nowadays, this probably goes back to more of embracing technology. So much of the homework and ideas are being transmitted through typed word, typing term papers and such. And I think that's where we need to embrace technology and not focus too many resources specifically on cursive. It is an important aspect of education, but again, I feel it's not something that's most dire to be impressed upon our children.
Ms. Blakely.
Thank you. Reading, writing, and arithmetic, that's the basics. And I do think they're important, but technology is playing a big part of our future. And students are getting away from writing term papers. They're getting away from writing thesis papers, writing any type of paper. It's all being done on a computer. So, do I think the time should be spent to teach specifically cursive handwriting? I think if that teacher has time to do it, and that's great, but I also think that that's not going to play as much of a role in the future as nowadays with the computers and writing. In college, they don't write anymore. Everything's done on a computer. So.
Mr. Gaspar?
Well, I guess it's old school and new school. When I grew up, yes, cursive was a main item. And I think about 15, 20 years ago, cursive started to come out of the schools with all the changes in the state goals and everything else. I think there should be some practice of it, but to enhance it all the time, I'm not 100% sure. I think I've changed a little bit over the years. I still think because of the computers and the technology going on, that the kids are more or less right now doing the typing, but with the cursive, if there's time inside a curriculum, and that could be the flexibility of it, I think it might be a need just to throw it in there as part of a subunit of some sort. But just to go back to the old way of doing it, I'm kind of changing my tune on that.
Mr. Carner.
You know, my recollection for when we took cursive in grade school, I don't believe that it was something that required extensive time in the classroom to learn. I think we practiced it. I think we went over it and then took it home and practiced it some more. So to say to get rid of it or that it's not important, I don't believe that. I kind of think it's just one of these things that everybody should learn to do. And as long as we're focusing on the things that I think that are important, as somebody said here, reading, writing, arithmetic, those are the important things. But I certainly think we can spend a little bit of time learning cursive for the kids.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops, we'll start with you. Will you be an advocate for both Batavia taxpayers and students and contest the city of Batavia on their use of TIF districts, or would you favor the tax increase of 18% on Batavia's school district taxpayers?
That's a good question. I do believe that industry is something that is important to the citizens of Batavia. Coming from the side of the school board, I know that there's a large portion of our homeowners' taxes that go into the school system, of course. I don't necessarily support an 18% rise in our tax bill for educational purposes, but I do believe that there might be a blend for TIF district enhancements to draw more industry to Batavia, to bring more jobs to our area, to increase our housing numbers as well, which then in turn will bring more money into the tax revenue pool, and we'll be able to all prosper from that as well without having to raise taxes.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely.
No one wants to raise taxes, but if we need to keep Batavia a top performing district, then I would be for that. We continually need to look at ways to reduce expenses and to keep the burden to taxpayers at a minimum. But I'm not, the 18% I'll admit is kind of throwing me. So I'm not for raising taxes 18%, but I am for keeping Batavia a top performing district.
Thank you, Mr. Gaspar.
Right, I mean, the 18%, I'm kind of just shocked at that for right now. But as a taxpayer, I do not want to see taxes going up if at all possible. Hopefully there can be a blend with both the city, with the TIF section, with the mall area over there, and that can help blend it down a little bit. I do not want to jeopardize, though, the good education that we have here, because what it does also in the long run, if we let that go, it then affects the homeowners and the area that we are in. And I want to keep us as high up as possible, but yet without putting the extra dollars on. That is something that, again, I'd have to look at with all the numbers and see if there's a way that it can be blended in and work with the city on how that can be changed.
I believe this just really comes down to my principles personally. I moved to Batavia 8 years ago because it was a great community, and the school district was something that was better than I've seen other places. But I'm concerned about the taxes continuing to go up. So an 18% increase in taxes is something that I would be opposed to. Again, I'm advocating taking a responsible look at our budget and see what we're spending. I think we can find other room in the budget if we eliminate maybe some things that are raceable rather than raising taxes further. So,
Ms. Locke.
I would not be in favor of raising taxes at this point in time. Not quite sure where the 18% number came from, but I really would continue to keep a balanced budget, but do not favor raising taxes, and would want to look to where we could cut something else before we would want to raise taxes right now.
Thank you. Now we'll start with Ms. Blakely. To go along with the previous question, then what part of the school budget are you planning on cutting?
For the upcoming school year, we have a balanced budget with minimal program cuts. So we don't plan on cutting the budget for next year.
Mr. Gaspar?
Well, not knowing what everything is inside the budget and everything, just being on the outside right now, and just what you read, I know the state law says you have to have a balanced budget. So right now, I have to go with that everything's going to be okay, and no major cuts. The last board I just heard was we're hiring because we have some extra money there, but the money's coming in, so there was no need. But so, to me, it's hard for me to answer that question at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Carner?
I do agree with Jonathan that without actually having seen the budget extensively, it's kind of hard to say what exactly we would cut. I'm hoping if I'm elected, I'll get that opportunity to look closely at it. I will say that, you know, sitting in some of these board meetings, you know, I hear some things that we're proposing to spend money on, and I scratch my head at times. An example here is what I saw as it was an optional comfort test. Where they're going to measure the lighting in classrooms, the climate control as far as how hot and how cold it was. You know, this is something that was going to cost us about $30,000 to do, and we had done it back in 2004. So I definitely think that there's things that we need to look at when they're proposed that if they don't make sense in this day and age, we shouldn't be spending our money on them.
Thank you. Ms. Lapp?
I have to agree here. Without knowing the in-depth details about the budget, it's really hard to say specifically what can and can't be cut. But I think that it's definitely worth taking a look at and seeing what programs and what things are in there. And I think in light of some things that have happened in the past year, that it's definitely worth taking a look at some policies that the board has had. And reevaluating some procedures that have gone on in terms of, I don't want to make any accusations or anything, but just some policies and with regards to conferences and things like that.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops?
Well, I, with my other running mates here, would agree. I have not been able to look at the budget in fine detail, so it would be irresponsible for me to say exactly what programs would need to be cut. However, I do believe that fiscal responsibility in regards to expenditures needs to be evaluated, and you know, I think one of the things we need to look at is not necessarily what we need to cut, because we do have a balanced budget, but what should not be added in the future. The program that was rolled out just for review with the Batavia Athletic Fields project is not something that I necessarily support at this time, so it's not something that I would be running straight towards in order to add that massive amount of expenditures on. So I think just being responsible for current as well as future spending is something that would definitely be top on my priority list when I'm elected.
Thank you. Mr. Gaspar, we'll start with you on this one. It's a two-parter. Are you in favor of the $13 million proposed athletic field expansion? How do you feel about the proposal to put down AstroTurf?
At this time, I would say no to both. I think what everyone has to understand is this was a long-term goal or a project. I think we all have that even in our own homes. And that's how I looked at this. Spending the money right now, no, I'm not for that. I don't think it's necessary. But I do agree that you have to have a 1-year plan. You have to have a 5-year plan. You should have a 10-year plan to see what is out there. I don't have a problem with coming up with this idea. At least we know what a price tag is. So you can go from there. But to do it right now, no, I'm not in favor. With the AstroTurf, if it was to happen, I'd really want to see actual facts on if AstroTurf is good for the kids or not, or just stay with the old grass. So right now, I'm not in favor of doing it, but I think it's good for the long-term goal to look at a project.
I believe that looking at a project is one thing, but my first question is how are we going to pay for it? Once again, I think that we've been stressed. Homeowners have been stressed with the amount that they're paying in taxes, and I can't see any other way to pay for something like this. So at this time, I would not be in favor of doing a massive redo of the whole entire athletic facilities. If there are certain areas that I think could use some upgrades, if it would make sense in piecemeal, I might consider that, but at this cost, I don't think this is the time to do it.
Thank you. Ms. Locke?
I think we have to look at it like John was saying here. This is not something we're doing next week, next month. This is just a plan for the future. I have a plan that I'd like to do in my kitchen someday. It's not happening tomorrow, next fall, someday. And this is how we have to start looking at it. We're not asking the taxpayers to fund this with the referendum this fall or anything like that. But to start, you have to have a plan. And this is how it begins. It's just a proposal, and you need to have a vision to be looking forward in the future. Always learning, always growing. That's what the motto of the board is. And so that's how it works. So to grow, you need to have a plan. As far as AstroTurf versus grass, that's something you would need to look at and review. And at this point, I would have no idea. So I would need to look at research and make a determination then. So until the field's being built.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops?
I'll reaffirm my previous position on the $13 million field expansion and renovation. I'll address the AstroTurf question. I think what's needing to be seen here is understanding that natural grass does have to be maintained. Obviously, it needs to be mowed, it needs to be watered, it needs to be striped, and there's a staff that has to do that as well. So there is expenditures that come with maintaining a natural grass field. Without knowing the exact costs of what an AstroTurf field would be versus a natural grass field and what are the long-term benefits, that's something that needs to be identified. With my gut instinct, I wouldn't support that to be something to be rolled out right now. I know Geneva does have an AstroTurf field or a field turf field, but I don't think Batavia needs to try to keep up with the Joneses per se. And just because they have one, we need one. We need to maintain our fiscal responsibility and our duty to our taxpayers.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely?
There's no doubt that the hard economic times have hurt everybody, and people have had to make changes to their budgets and to their lifestyles. With that said, I just want to share an example. The land that Grace McWayne and Hoover Woods sit on right now was purchased over 50 years ago, and schools were not put on that land right away. It's a vision, and Batavia is a progressive district. And a progressive district has to have a vision. And that's what the proposed athletic field is. It's a progressive vision for our future. It's a goal.
Thank you. Mr. Carner, starting with you. With the state's irresponsibility in the use of pension funds and subsequent shortfall, how do you feel about the state's proposal to shift pension payouts to local school districts?
As far as I am aware, this is still in the works. I don't think it's. I think it still has to go to the House. I think it's a big issue. I mean, who wouldn't? This is a huge sum of money that needs to be paid for, and I think that we ought to be prepared that it may be coming towards the districts. Unfortunately, how we're going to pay for it, I have no idea. I suppose somebody will say, well, we need to raise taxes, but again, that's not the answer to every issue that we face. So I think, again, going back to these things, we need to go ahead and really be diligent on how we look at the budget and what expenditures we have, and make sure that we're eliminating waste. We're not going to have money to pay for any of these things. So,
thank you. Ms. Locke?
How do I feel about it? It makes me very, very angry that people can be so irresponsible with other people's money. And as I'm sure the teachers are very upset, As taxpayers, we should be very upset, and I'm not quite sure what's going to be done about it. And until something is done in Springfield, we really can't do much about it here as a district. We need to just kind of wait and see, unfortunately, and decide then what we can be doing it as a board about it. I don't want to raise taxes. I hope we don't have to. But until something is done, we're not going to be able to make many decisions here. But we do need to continue to have a balanced budget. So hopefully we can just maintain our status quo here.
Mr. Stoops.
Well, Illinois rates 50th out of all 50 states for its pension. So that's just dire news right there. Sorry to start off with it, but it's the truth. Unfortunately, the proposal for the state to shift the pension burdens onto the local communities is essentially their way of saying, you handle it, because we lost it. And that's not what I would support at all. Even if you phased in certain program requirements like raising retirement ages or shifting new teachers onto a 401k type program, that doesn't alleviate the cost that is going to be incurred by school districts. You're essentially swapping dollars for donuts. So I'm definitely against the state doing that, and I've already called my representatives to express my desire for them to keep it where the problem originated. I don't need the Springfield's problems coming into my backyard, and if they do, they're going to come into all of our backyards, so I'm definitely against shifting that to our burden.
The state has been working on this issue for over 2 years, and they don't really have any answers for us yet. And I can't answer this question properly because there's too many unknowns. What I know as a board is that we make our decisions on accurate information and data that is given to us that hasn't been provided so far. So I can't answer this question with the information that I've been given because the state hasn't provided that for us.
Well, same thing. I'm not for it. But it's one of those things where you have to keep talking to your legislators, where the problem started. Shifting it to the districts is just going to cause more problems if that's what they do, because we already get less money from them in the first place. Now that means less money is going to come out for the students and for what needs to be done, because it's going to have to be given out for this pension. I'm not in favor. I agree both with what Tina, Jason had said, and being an educator, it's one of those things where we just have to keep talking to our legislators that they're just putting the burden onto somebody else, and it's not what they should have been doing.
Thank you. Now, starting with Ms. Locke. What is the current student administrator ratio in the Batavia Public Schools? Is it too high, too low, or just right?
Love to say that it's too low and we could have more, but unfortunately our budget doesn't allow us to have more. So I'm going to say it's just right.
Mr. Stoops.
Unfortunately, I don't know the exact ratio. However, what I can draw upon is with having a balanced budget and maintaining high educational standards, I would think that we are at a good stasis of being right for administrators to student ratio. But I do believe that probably should be evaluated more. We don't need more administrators than students, of course. So if that ratio is too high, it's something that definitely should be addressed.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely.
I'm going to have to say that I think it's just right. I don't think that we have too many administrators per student. So I think that it is, I think it is where it is right now, and our district is continuing to perform at a great level. So I would say it's just where it needs to be right now.
Mr. Gaspar.
I don't know the actual number for student to administrator, student to teacher. However, as a teacher, I would say anything that is high for student to administrator, because I would always say we need more teachers than the administrators. So if that number was high for the student to teacher and it was low for the student to administrator, I'd want to change that so that we would have it down further for the student to the teacher. But I don't know the actual number at all. So, but that'll just be my gut feeling for my own personal.
I think this is a little bit of a tough question because I don't know what the exact ratio is. And I have a feeling if I answer it one way, I could get in trouble with the administrators in our system. But again, I think this is something that we have to examine. I mean, administrator salaries, if we have too many of them, we need to just evaluate if it's necessary. Again, because we only have so much money to spend on our kids' education, and what I like to do is focus every dollar possible on creating the best opportunities for our kids to learn in the classrooms, whether that's more administrators or more teachers. I think we just need to have that discussion to find out what the right mix is.
Thank you. We're down to the last two questions. Starting with Mr. Stoops. How do you feel about the recent downgrading of the financial health of our school district?
Well, I did read about the recent downgrading, and it's troubling. However, we were rated at the highest level possible for the state, and many other school districts were downgraded as well. So it's not just a accusation against our school district specifically. I think it's something to be said more or less where we're able to still maintain a balanced budget and maintain a high level of education for our students. The downgrade may be more relatable to the decreased tax revenues that we have here, maybe increasing in certain expenditures, and those are things that we should be able to rectify in the time to come.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely.
Thank you. I have to agree with Jason. As said before, our district is a top performing district, and we have a balanced budget. We have wonderful students, we have wonderful teachers, and I think that that's where we're going to continue to grow and continue to keep our district at this level.
Mr. Gaspar?
With regards to all this, yes, how they put it out on paper and everything, I would just say that how they rate everybody, but we still have the balanced budget, we still have quality teachers, we still give a good education to our students, and that's the bottom line. So regardless of what they put on the paper, I think we are in the right direction, and I would hope that it continues this way and we're not doing any more for the taxpayers with regards to trying to raise taxes or anything. Keep it where it is, but keep the balanced budget, and we'll see what the overall rating comes out the next year or two.
Thank you. Mr. Carner.
I think the downgraded rating is the unfortunate reality of the times we're in. And I don't think it's just our district. I think it's many districts across the state. Again, I just think it's something that we need to continue to be diligent and where we're spending our money. I know that we've talked about having a balanced budget, but I know that there's potentially some issues going forward, and I just think that we need to try and be as responsible as we can with how we're spending our money.
Ms. Slack.
I think you need to keep it in perspective that not only was our district downgraded, but many others were downgraded. The country itself, the credit rating was downgraded. So as long as you're still seeing the quality education that the students are receiving. We still have the quality teachers. The buildings and facilities are still being maintained. The whole level is still being maintained. The quality is out there. That I think it's something to be aware of, keep an eye out, keep a watch. As you said, if this continues year after year, then that's something that needs to be looked at. But without a doubt, you do not want to raise taxes and have a knee-jerk reaction. That's not something you want to do right away. So just keep it in perspective.
Thank you. Last question before closing. Start with Ms. Blakely. What would be the 3 things you would most like to accomplish in your 4-year term?
The 3 things I'd like to accomplish in my next term would be to continue a balanced budget and hiring quality teachers and doing what's best for our students. I would like to enhance the communication between the board and the community, like continuing the listening posts, which have been very successful, and hopefully reaching more of the community through the listening posts. And I would also like to keep working with administration and the teachers union to continue our great relationship so that we can bring the best education for our students. That's what this is about. For me, it's about making sure that our students are taken care of and that they have the best education. We don't have, as a parent, I don't have 3 children anymore. I have 6,500 children. And the quality of their education and what happens with them is what's important. And that's one of my goals. 1 of 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, be fiscally responsible for the taxpayers, as I am in my own home for myself and my family. I want to make sure that we have a safe learning environment, safe schools for everyone, students, staff, visitors alike. And I want to make sure that we keep quality teachers and administrators. That's a key, because that helps the future young students for their future to succeed. I do like, as I stated in the paper one time, the listening post I think was a great idea because people can come out and share their ideas. Unfortunately, there's more people here today than there's been at listening posts. And that's, you know, I'm glad for this, but I've been to the listening post, and when only 10 people come, that's sad for a whole district. So I would like to keep that going, and I like to just make sure the communication is there with the staff, to the administrators, with the board, and to the citizens of Batavia. Thank you.
Mr. Carter.
It'll probably come as no surprise to anybody, but I do feel that fiscal responsibility is a huge issue going forward. So if we can go ahead and come on in here, and as a new board member, if I were to look 4 years down the line, not only balance the budget, but well, I'd certainly like to shoot for better than that. How about a surplus in the budget? That's one thing. I also want to concentrate on maximizing communication between board members and citizens. I mean, we're here and we're your representatives, so your concerns should be aired out, and we should be able to listen to you and represent you as best we can. And finally, it's again, I think as Tina said, it's about the kids. It's very important. I have 4 kids of my own. I want to see this school district provide the best opportunities for them in the future. So whatever we can do to really concentrate on kids and maximize their education, I'll be happy with.
Well, I guess I'll just start off with the same old fiscal responsibility, because I think that's key. I'd like to maintain the balanced budget, but I think fiscal responsibility, not raising taxes or maintaining the status quo with the budget as much as possible is key. Nobody wants their taxes to go up. We're all taxpayers too, so don't forget that. Communication is huge. When 10 people show up at a listening post, and we were there, so we were part of the 10. Think about that. Really is key. I think the communication between the board and the citizens is very, very important. But ultimately, I would like to see smaller class sizes. That's what got me interested in this to begin with, and that's something that I would really, really like to see happen. And there are ways that it can be done without raising taxes, getting more teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Stoops.
Within my 4-year term, I would expect and hope to be able to have a fully implemented Common Core state standard program that also will have success drawn from it as well. Being able to train our educators in order to provide the best possible education to our children is something that I would find as being key. Secondly, of course, a balanced budget. I would agree with Jim as well. If we can be able to build our reserves with the surplus and not have to keep coming back to the taxpayers of Batavia is something I would find as being key as well. And then finally, maintaining more communication with the citizens here. It's great to see so many people here today. Your tax dollars go to support our youth. You can come to school board meetings. You can attend these listening posts, and your input is valuable because if you have an idea, we're not going to be able to know it all. I know that. So your input is valuable to this. So if you can continue to support our community and our children, that would be key.
Thank you. And now we'll go to the closings, and we will start with Mr. Gaspar. You may have up to 2 minutes for your closing. You don't have to take 2 minutes, but you can have up to 2.
You added a minute since
Well, you can take a minute.
Okay.
Up to 2 minutes. You're on.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone, like I said, for coming out, and the League of Women Voters for having us today. I basically am going to leave it up to the Batavia voters. I mean, that's the decision. It's out of my hands. Hopefully you read the newspapers, you read what I wrote out on questionnaires, gone on the internet, you've seen it. Answering questions sometimes in 1 minute is kind of difficult. I don't know, I don't have all the facts. I don't know all the details on it. I just hope that, like I said, my 33 years of education, still wanting to be involved, being in education all this time. And I have a wife that will still be teaching another 4 or 5 years, so I would hear it from her if I messed up on something. So she would have your guys' back also. So like I said, and I've told some of these guys up here that, you know, it's up to you guys, not up to me. I've said what I've had to say. You've read what I've had to say. It's all in your hands. And if I get elected, all I can promise is I will do my best.
Thank you. Mr. Carter.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody who came out here to attend this tonight, and I'd especially like to thank the League of Women's Voters for hosting this. You know, I think if you agree that finances are a very important issue in this campaign, then I hope that I can earn your vote tonight. I take it very seriously because I talk to my neighbors, I've talked to people in the district, and I know they're hurting with these increased taxes. So I think it's important that we listen to what the people are saying, and I think we need to, again, take some responsibility as far as how we're handling the finances and the budget. That's the #1 important issue to me, and if you vote for me, you can count on me to fight for that, that end.
Thank you. Ms. Locke?
Thank you. I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us here, and I wanted to also thank thank everyone that is up here with me tonight. It's been fun getting to know everyone. I just want to say thank you for coming out tonight. It's nice to see people take an interest. It is disheartening once in a while when very few people show up to our listening posts. But it is nice when people do take an active interest in their town, and that's what this is, so I appreciate it. I'm just a mom who's trying to do the best she can for her kids, and that's what I will do if I am elected and sit on the board. I have an interest in their education, and I will represent your kids and your tax dollars, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you so much.
Mr. Stoops.
Of course, thanks to the League of Women Voters for allowing us to come here today, as well as the citizens of Batavia for showing up also. It's great to see you all here, and you had some great questions. You made me think. which I think is key for being a board member here. You have to want to learn to be on this school board, and that's something that's driven me from the first moment I got my first signature on my petition to get on the ballot, for my wife, by the way, and it took a lot of convincing for that educator also. I know I'm going to be able to strive for commitment and dedication and continual enhanced learning on my part to be the best possible board member I can. I will take input from anyone and everyone. I'm always willing to listen in the phone book, and I'm sure my phone will ring off the receiver. And I welcome that, because I want to be challenged with the hard questions, because those are your issues, and that's what I want to address once I'm elected onto this board. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely?
Thank you. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us out here. All the citizens that came out, my friends, my fellow board members, thank you for coming out tonight and giving me the opportunity to answer these questions. I've always realized the importance of the decisions that a Board of Education member has to make. And I've had the great fortune of sitting on the board for almost a year with people who have successfully done this a long time. The information and the experiences that I have gained from them and from being a school board member are invaluable. It's not a perfect system, and I'm not a perfect board member. But I am committed to the city of Batavia, to the teachers, to the students, to the taxpayers, and to parents. I will make the best decisions possible for our children and for the city of Batavia. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who came out tonight. I'm disappointed that your listening posts aren't more well attended, but I'm glad that you all came out tonight. The League of Women Voters has the mission of trying to bring candidates to you so that you can ask questions and find out their positions on issues that make a difference to you. I would like to thank the Batavia Library and Mr. Sheets, the director, for allowing us to host this here in this wonderful facility. I would also like to thank John, our standout stalwart person from BATV, who is always here taking our videotaping us and playing us on TV. He's a wonderful person. And I want to thank all of you for coming. But let's give the candidates who took the time to come and listen to your questions and answer them, let's give them a round of applause. And if you're interested in what's going on in St. Charles and Geneva, tomorrow night, the League of Women Voters is hosting yet another forum for not only school district, school board candidates in St. Charles, but mayoral candidates in St. Charles at the Kane County Branch Court on Randall Road, also known as the former Montgomery Ward, starting at 6:30. And Geneva will follow on Thursday at the same location at 6:30. So thank you very much.